If you're tired of toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing, and being told just to raise your vibration while your life is literally falling apart, you're in the right place. This is Awakening Unfiltered. I'm Erica Cook, and we're about to have the conversations the spiritual community does not want to have. I'm known as the Awakening Coach. I'm a spiritual teacher. I read tarot. I practice tarot. I do numerology. I do all of the spiritual things. And one reason I started this podcast is because I was pigeonholed on TikTok to be just the tarot gal. Anytime I deviated from that, my videos would tank because everybody wanted to know about tarot. It became a trend. But I have so much more that I want to share with you all. I'm like a sponge when it comes to spiritual information, psychological information. I'm one of those people that loves to share things that are going to help you. That's why I created this podcast, because I want you to know the truth, number one, about the spiritual journey. I want you to know the truth about these spiritual tools. I want you to know the truth about life, because we see so much curated information out there on social media and the movies that sugarcoats the whole process of life. And that's not real. We have to get real, and that's what we're going to do here. So let's talk about me. Not that I want to be through my ego, but I want you to know who I am. So let me give you a little bit of background about me. I am the Awakening Coach, and I built a successful six-figure practice in my spiritual niche. But don't let that fool you. It took me years to build my successful business because I started as a coach. People used to come to me all the time and ask me for advice, even when I was a kid. And it surprised me because I'm like, why are you talking to me about this? Who am I to give you advice on this? But I think people just feel your vibration. I mean, people have told me their life story my entire life. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe there's something to this. And then I found out about life coaching. That's when it all blew up. So I got my life coaching certification. And I thought, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is going to be great. Well, that didn't happen. I tried to grow on platforms that really make it difficult to grow on, if you know what I'm talking about. It was a really tough journey, but I knew something deep in my soul was pushing me to keep going, even though there were people around me really beating me down about it, trying to say that I'll never amount to anything. I went through the gamut, and I want you to understand that this is not a straight line experience. This is all over the place because you're going to learn a lot through every obstacle that you overcome. You are meant to go through certain aspects of struggles because you need to be able to relate to the people that you interact with. No matter if you're reading tarot for them or coaching them, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You need to be able to relate to the people that are going to be attracted to you. So building my business, like I said, was not easy. It took me several years, lots of studying, lots of certifications, lots of ups and downs, trial and error. And then finally, it took off. And then came the burnout. And here's the wild part about burnout at the six-figure level. You would think hitting six figures would solve everything, right? That was my goal for so long. I remember when I was grinding, trying to grow on platforms that didn't want to let me grow, thinking once I hit six figures, I'll have it made. But success without alignment is honestly just a prettier cage. I was making more money than I ever thought possible doing spiritual work. But I couldn't talk about half the things I actually understood because the algorithm only wanted tarot content. And that's when I realized something crucial. You can have all the success metrics, the followers, the income, the certifications, and still feel trapped if you're not expressing your full truth. That's why this podcast exists, because I refuse to dim myself down for engagement rates anymore. Burnout is real. I know people laugh at influencers, and I don't call myself an influencer because I think every person on this planet is an influencer. You're influencing people every single day. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you are influencing somebody. So make sure you keep that in mind. But I know people like to talk trash about influencers and say, oh, you poor baby, it's so hard to make videos and content and blah, blah, blah. But it actually is, because you have to think about their attention span. You have to think about the information. You have to think about the aesthetics. You have to think about editing. You have to really get into people's brains and their psyche to make good content to help the collective or to sell your product. So burnout is a real thing. And like I said in the beginning, I got pigeonholed into the tarot niche. I absolutely love tarot. Tarot changed my life. Tarot took me from victim to victor. It literally put the power of my life back into my hands when I kept giving it away to everybody. So I do love the fact that people know and respect me as a tarot teacher and a tarot practitioner. But like I said, I have so much more to share. And if I don't feel like I can share that freely, I will go crazy. It is literally in my human design and in my natal astrological chart and my numerology chart that I am meant to teach. I am meant to speak. I'm meant to do all of these things because I'm a sponge for information. I recognize patterns. I see things. I understand things on a different level. Not saying that you can't. I'm just saying that's the way I operate. And I love sharing this information with you. So I decided I'm going to start a podcast just so I can sit here and talk to you. And let me be honest, it took a minute for me to realize that I was getting burned out. I thought I was just going through a creative block. I don't know really honestly what I thought. Every time I went to go make a video, it was like something just stopped me. Like there was an energetic wall right there. And I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. And then I realized I'm burned out because you can only make so many videos about one subject before you're like, my brain is tapped out. So I had to do some soul searching. I had to think about myself as well as how I'm going to continue to help the collective. That's you. And I know that tarot is a big part of what I do, but there's so much more. There's so many more nuances of life that you need to understand that are actually going to help you in so many different facets. I've done the work. Let me just tell you about it so you don't have to do the work, right? I can save you a lot of time, energy, and effort by sharing with you the things that I have learned over the many years that I've been doing this. And another thing that I realized about myself when I can't share what I want to share, because I see so much stuff on social media and in everyday life, and I would love to talk about it, to show you the reality of the situation, because again, I understand psychology, I understand patterns, I just see things a different way, and I would love to talk about it so you don't get stuck in traps. But I found myself getting angry and bitter. And one of my human design, I guess you could call low vibe traits, is bitterness. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's me. I'm so frustrated because I feel like I'm having to lower myself down or cut off just a chunk of myself to be able to share with other people. And you might feel that way too in your life. And this is why I'm talking about this, because I want you to be able to share your full authenticity. I talk about this all the time. This is why I love doing lives on social media, because I can talk about any and everything. This is why I have my tribe here backstage and they're listening live right now because we want this to be a group effort. So yeah, I found myself getting bitter and I didn't like it because this is supposed to be something that I feel free to do. I want to flow. I want to guide. I want to help. But I can't do that if I'm limiting myself. And this is why I always try to be transparent with my followers, with my tribe, everybody, because I don't want you to think that you get to this point in your spiritual journey and that's it. You're all set. It does not work that way. That is a lie. If anybody ever tells you that they have reached this pinnacle and they can tell you all the answers in the world, run, because that is a lie. We will always go through obstacles. We will always be discovering new aspects of ourselves. That's what life is about. Life is a journey. It is a journey of exploration. It is a journey of trial and error. It is a messy journey. So don't beat yourself up over this whole spiritual journey. Understand that this could be a really lonely place when you're waking up because you start to see things for what they actually are. It can, at times, start to make you bitter. And this is why I want to help pull you out of that. I don't want you to be bitter. I want you to see things from a higher perspective, to understand things, and to not take it personally. I want to tell you about an experience that I had recently where I made a video about something other than tarot, and this person literally commented on my post and said, "Oh, I thought you were legit. Eek." And I sat back and thought, what? Because I dared to make a video that was outside of what they understood to be spirituality and tarot. They deemed me not legit, even though I have hundreds, if not, I don't even know, thousands of videos. I don't even know how many videos I have out there of educational information, of tarot reading demonstrations, of all of this. But they saw one little video of me talking about something else and they thought, wow, she's not legit. And then another person commented and said something similar. And I was like, wow, you guys are really trying to stuff me in that box. And that rebel within me was like, fuck this. We're making a podcast and we're going to talk about everything. And you know what's funny is that comment most likely came from somebody who just consumes spiritual content and has never actually built anything or helped anyone transform. Meanwhile, I've trained hundreds of students through my programs. I've created IPHM accredited certifications that actually change people's lives. I've built a 6-figure business teaching people how to reclaim their power through tarot and spiritual work. Because I made one video that didn't fit their definition of what I should be, suddenly I'm not legit. That's the spiritual community's version of toxic Christianity right there. Stay in your lane. Don't question. Don't evolve. Just keep giving us what we expect. No, I'm done with that. And if you're here listening to this, I'm betting you're done with it too. Because I will be damned if I want... I even tried to put myself in that box and I won't even let myself be put in that box. How in the hell am I going to let somebody else put me in that box? And what's funny is the video that I made... It was actually based on spirituality. It was based on the number 7. They just didn't know it because they were too much in their ego. They were too much in their judgmental nature to understand what I was actually saying. But they tried to project their negativity onto me and I did not accept it. So I'm like one of those people where if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to tell you, watch me. We're going to check in backstage with my tribe and see what they have to say about this so far. And I see it ticking by more and more. Let's check in. Feeling so not me is my biggest struggle with making content for social media. When I look at my videos, I have a hard time seeing myself. It just looks like someone else. I totally understand that because I used to hate to hear myself on a recording. It used to make me cringe. But the more I did it, the more comfortable I got, the more I started liking my voice. And I have had people tell me as I'm doing recorded tarot readings or doing videos on social media, they tell me, you have such a soothing voice, my natural speaking voice. And another fun fact about me is when you meet me in person, I'm not as chatty as you see me on social media. On a podcast, I want to talk, I want to share, I want to explore, I want to do all these things because I do have a lot to say. But in person, if we're doing small talk, I'm not interested. I'm an observer. I like to watch people. I like to see how people work, why they do the things that they do, why they say the things that they say, and just how it all fits together. It helps me to understand people. It helps me to understand the universe. It helps me to understand myself. So I'm very much the observer, which used to get me, I don't want to say a lot of trouble, but there would be people that would think I was judging them because I have RBF and I'm observing. I'm not saying much. So they literally thought or were afraid that I was judging them. And I wasn't. I was just sitting there listening. So yeah, the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to fall in love with yourself, honestly. And you have to be okay with the silliness. You have to be okay with, I look at videos back in the past and I cringe a little bit, but I'm like, you know what? Who cares? I put myself out there. It doesn't matter. Life is just life. If somebody wants to judge me, that means they're afraid of doing it themselves. So yeah, we have another comment. The whole point of our evolution is to become more of who we are meant to be. We can't do that if we stick ourselves in a box. Exactly. And that's the thing. I cannot stand being stuck in a box because I am a dynamic person and I don't want anybody to ever feel like they have to be stuck in a box. And I feel like that is what limits people the most because everybody's afraid of criticism. So instead of taking it as criticism and taking it personally, use it as fuel. And if you're wondering who these comments are coming from, they're coming from my tribe. They have backstage access to these podcasts because I don't want it to be just about me. I want others to be included. So if you want to be backstage, you can check out the show notes and there will be a link there. Now let's talk about the problem. Why the spiritual awakening has become filtered. It's all about toxic positivity. Now, don't get me wrong, before I say this, there is a real need for positivity and there is a real need for that little delulu positivity every now and then. But there is a problem with the good vibes only because what that means is that your pain is not welcome. You're not allowed to talk about that stuff, which partly is true, mostly is not. because we need to acknowledge what's going on within us so we can release it, so we can let it go. If we keep ignoring things without acknowledging that it's there, then it becomes disease because our body is at dis-ease. Another aspect is there is always a pressure to be grateful. Now, let me tell you something about gratitude. Gratitude is extremely important, and gratitude comes in different levels. If you've been following me for a while, if you've heard me on live, you will know that I've said many times that you can give some of the toxic people in your lives gratitude because it pushed you to overcome an obstacle, maybe to set boundaries, maybe to transform. There's something there that it was pushing you towards. However, there are some really horrific things that happen in life that if somebody told you to give gratitude for that, they're insane. So when you're thinking about gratitude, give gratitude for the good and not so good things, but don't feel pressured to feel gratitude for the things that are really traumatic in your life. You do not have to do that. Number one, you want to see that that was not your fault and you were doing the best that you could at the time. And it taught you maybe resilience about yourself. But do you have to show gratitude for that? No. I don't know if you've seen all over social media where people talk about their awakening journey. And they have this perfectly curated social media and they are talking about all the good things that are happening in their awakening and how they're manifesting this and that. Most of the time it's a lie, but let's just say they're not lying, but they're talking about how they're manifesting all of this stuff and life is just flowing perfectly. That is not a real spiritual awakening. I hate to break it to you, but it's not, because a real spiritual awakening includes the dark. This is the shadow. This is the destruction and the death of the old self. This is where you feel like you're almost like you're literally dying because your ego, which is not how you judge a situation, your ego is the persona that people have put onto you and that you have accepted because you didn't know any better, right? You were just a kid when all this started. So that ego, that self is dying away. And with that, relationships die, careers die, habits die. It is not an easy process. So there needs to be this balance because you'll see both ends of the spectrum here. You'll see the perfectly curated spiritual awakening, and then you will see the dark side where they can't even see the light because they don't want to see the light. They love being the victim because what happens is they get attention for being the victim. So you have to find that happy medium and understand that you're going to have some amazing experiences in your spiritual awakening, and you're going to have some really, let's just say, shitty experiences because it's not fun. It is not a straight line. It is not smooth sailing. You're peeling layers off of your ego, off of your soul to really become your true authentic self. So understand that if you're seeing this on social media, I hope now you have a little bit more discernment about what you're taking in. Another thing that drives me insane, I know I giggle a lot because I know some of the things I say are going to really make some people mad, but spiritual bypassing. I cannot stand it because they're like life hack, spiritual hack, manifestation hack. Let me tell you, you cannot hack your way through your spiritual journey. You cannot hack your way through your healing. You cannot hack your way through your awakening. It's a lie. It is all clickbait. It drives me insane because people get stuck in those situations because they think they can skip the uncomfortable parts. And that's not what this is about. You have to get comfortable in the discomfort. That way it becomes comfortable in a way that you've healed it. I mean, don't stay in that nastiness. What I'm saying is you have to be okay with stepping into that discomfort. Another thing that drives me crazy too is people say, just manifest it. You will hear me say manifest it, but that doesn't mean, oh, just be delusional and manifest it. No, we acknowledge that there is a block there and we're going to work through that block in order to manifest it. For example, if you feel like you don't have money for something, we got to look at where is your money. Maybe you're spending more than you have coming in because you don't feel worthy of keeping that money, of letting your money grow. Maybe you don't have a career that pays that much because you don't think that your work is worth that much. We have to look at those things. And I've even had students who wanted to be in my classes and they were trying so hard to manifest it that they hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. But guess what? They bust through it. They wound up in my class. I've had multiple students do that. So it's a motivational tool, not a hack. Just manifest it. Like, shut up. Another one is you create your reality. Now, yes, this is true, but it is not meant to shame people. Again, like I said before, you were only doing the best with what you knew at the time. That is not your fault. What is your responsibility is to learn from that experience and move forward, to allow yourself to evolve to a place where, you know what, I'm not going to fall for that anymore. I'm not going to make these problematic decisions for myself anymore because I understand where that put me. And I understand why I made that decision now. Just like for me, I had some pretty toxic relationships. Well, that was my fault. But am I shaming myself for it? No, because I was doing the best with what I knew at the time. And you want to hear a real truth bomb? This is really going to upset some people. The spiritual community has become as toxic as the toxic Christianity community. Now notice I said toxic Christianity. If you're a Christian, I don't mind. Whatever floats your boat. But there is positive and toxic to each sector, I guess you can say. The spiritual community on the toxic side has become as judgmental, as rude, as egoic as the toxic Christianity community, but they are not willing to see that. I can see it. I have had to excuse myself from so many communities because people want to force their will onto other people. They are so stuck in their self-centered world that they are willing to do any and everything to make somebody do something for them. It could be they want to manifest somebody to be in their relationship. They want to break people up so the other person bees with them. It's endless. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And that's what you see all over social media, is that toxic spirituality. A lot of it is for clicks. A lot of it is for ego strokes. Just a little bit of it is for actual spiritual awakening. So there you have it. Let's go back to the chat right quick and see what the gals are saying. Our journeys evolve as we learn and grow. Others put themselves in a box and it's self-limiting. True awakening means we keep pushing against the confines of that box. We don't pigeonhole ourselves or self-deprecate to make others feel whole. Exactly. I love that. Giving gratitude when crap things happen is something that comes months or years later, where you can reflect and recognize how that dark time led you to where you've come, how far you've come, and realized you may not be here now without having navigating it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. It feels like an understanding to me when you're on that roller coaster of emotion evolution, that is the spiritual awakening. The gratitude for the bad times is an understanding. I understand that this moment of the Ten of Swords, or the Tower is necessary, and for that I'm grateful. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. We want to give gratitude for what the universe shows us. Right? Because the universe is always showing us what is. And we'll get more in depth in another episode about that. But a lot of people are afraid to find out what is. What is the truth? What is the reality of the situation? Because they'd rather control the situation. Just like the toxic spiritual groups. They want to control everything. They haven't done a day's work in anything about healing and self-evolution. So, spot on. I love that. Another thing that drives me crazy is the pressure to look healed or act above everybody else. And that's not accurate. We all go through struggles. We all go through great times and we all go through hard times. Me included. This is why I'm making this podcast, because I was going through a time where I was so burned out. I was frustrated. I was mad. I was just, ugh. And I was like, you know what? This has got to be an evolution for me. And I had to sit with myself in that discomfort and figure out, what is my next step? How can I fix this? And it came to mind. Get your butt in front of a microphone and just start talking. So you can do the same thing. And I want you to hear this part. I built a business that gives me freedom. I work from home. I have a thriving membership called The Tribe, where students get access to all of my teachings, not just tarot. I perform readings for clients. I coach my clients. I take my kids on vacations around the world. I sing in a band on the weekends because I have time to do that. That's what happens when you build a business on a real foundation instead of trying to be everywhere all at once for $3.99. I don't work 80-hour weeks anymore. I've created created a life where I can wake up, have coffee on my comfy couch with the windows open on a cold morning with all my animals in my lap because that's what I love, and then record a podcast in my closet wearing whatever I want. But here's what I want you to understand. I didn't get here by following the spiritual awakening hacks or by bypassing the hard parts. I got here by doing the actual work, by getting certified, by studying spirituality, tarot, Reiki, numerology, psychology, not just pulling cards and hoping for the best, by building real foundations. And I'm so sick and tired of watching spiritual practitioners give away their knowledge for free or undercharge for their services and then wonder why they can't pay rent. We're going to talk about that in the next episode because spiritual entitlement is out of control. But for now, just know this. If I can build this, coming from where I came from, going through everything that I went through, you absolutely can too. Not by pretending to have it all together, but by being willing to show up messy, do the work, and evolve. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to act a certain way. This is your journey. This is your awakening. This is your healing. You determine how that works. I saw a quote the other day. I don't remember where I saw it, but it says, "If I'm spiritual, I shouldn't be struggling." Bullshit. Again, we all go through struggles. You're going to struggle. You're going to evolve. There's nobody that has it just smooth sailing. If they look like that on the surface, then you better know that they are going through some crap underneath. Nobody has the perfect life. I'm sure you can tell by now that I have a lot more to share than just tarot. Tarot is a fantastic tool for self-discovery, self-evolution. It is not meant to peep on other people. It's not meant for these shady things of who's talking about you or who's thinking about you. Who cares? This is about you, your evolution, your spiritual awakening. This is about you taking control of your life instead of letting somebody else control you. When you are so focused on what other people are doing or if so-and-so is going to come back into your life, you are letting that person or those people be in control of you. That is not what you want. And like I've said before, feeling boxed in the tarot niche made me realize that I'm sure there are a ton of people out there that feel so boxed in their own lives, whether it be in their career, whether it be that they're just a mom or just a husband or just a dad or just a wife or just this and that, right? You're not just anything. You are you. You are here and you deserve to have the greatest experience you can have in your life. It is not just for other people to have amazing experiences. This is for you too. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to learn and grow and be abundant and be healthy. This is what this is about. So don't think that just because you're sitting here listening to this podcast that I have this great life and this is only for me. Let me tell you, I have worked my booty off to get here. And I work my booty off almost every day. And it's not that I'm sitting here grinding. Sometimes I am just stewing over things in my head, letting ideas formulate. Sometimes I'm just sitting in silence going, show me the way. And sometimes I've made mistakes asking the universe to show me how I can help humanity because they put me in traumatic situations. But I just want you to know that you deserve to have this experience, whatever it may be, the life that you dream of, but you are going to have to take action. Listening to this podcast, listening to other podcasts, watching videos, doing all that is not going to do it. You have to actually take action. This is what a real awakening looks like. Shadow work. You need to meet your darkness. You need to know that shadow part of yourself. Let's not deny it. We all know she or he is there. If you try to deny them, it gets worse. You want to make friends with your shadow self. You want to understand your shadow self. That way, you're not letting them take over whenever something happens and you start making bad decisions for yourself or you get into a toxic relationship because that shadow self, maybe it's that insecure self, maybe it's that jealous self, maybe it's the lack self. It's going to be different for everybody and you might have multiple aspects of that self because we have multiple aspects of our life, but you want to understand your shadow self. Destruction. Things will fall apart in your life. You cannot escape that. And if you think you can, you're in for a rude awakening. This is exactly why we have the Tower card in tarot. The Tower card shows you that even though you've gone all this way on this journey, it's telling you that the more you rise, the more you evolve, the more things are going to fall away. If you tell the universe, I hate my job, I hate working here, I hate going to work every day, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be pushed out of that job. I always have to warn my clients when they come to me. They tell me, I want a different job. I want to excel in my career. I want to do this and that. And I tell them, okay, now that you've made that clear, now that you've made that claim, you need to start looking for another job, because the universe is going to start pushing you out. Either somebody's going to get hired that drives you insane, or that bullies you, whatever it's going to be, and that's going to push you out, or you're going to get fired or laid off. And 9 times out of 10, they don't believe me until they come back and they tell me, well, I just got fired, or well, I just got laid off, or the business closed. And I don't shame them. I say, okay, now you're in a space where anything is possible. It was taken away from you because we knew it wasn't correct. We knew it wasn't meant for you. Now we're going to open ourselves up to find out what is. So yes, in this spiritual awakening, it's going to feel sometimes really traumatic or dramatic because you're going to lose relationships. But guess what? Those relationships were not healthy. Okay? Otherwise, they would stay. That's another thing that people are so afraid of on the spiritual journey is, well, what if I lose people that, like my kids or whatever? And I have to tell them, let's be realistic, okay? The people that are meant to stay in your life will stay in your life. It's not like the universe is going to zap them up into the cosmos and there they go. So, yeah. Grief. Grief is definitely part of your awakening journey because you are going to mourn who you used to be. And it's not that you want to be that person again. It's just that's been a part of you, or that's been you for so long. So we're letting that go. And sometimes I've caught myself being in a mindset where, you know what, sometimes I wish I was just oblivious to things because it would be so much easier. But it's not true. That's a lie. That's what they want you to believe. That's what whoever runs this world or this universe, that's what they want you to believe, that ignorance is bliss, and it is not. You have your struggles there just as much as you're going to have them in your awakening journey. Your awakening journey is just what's going to pull you out of that. So you will experience grief. You will mourn the person that you were. You will mourn the relationships that you had. It's an evolutionary process. Anger. You're going to be really angry at yourself, at the things that you accepted in life that you shouldn't have. And I've been there. I've told you, I have been in some toxic relationships in the past. And I think to myself, Erica, what the hell were you thinking? You know better than this. There are going to be things that happened that you're so pissed off about because you're asking yourself, why did I have to go through this? Why did this happen to me? We have to see those experiences as part of our evolution. But again, remember what I said earlier. Do not shame yourself as though you created that experience if it was something traumatic. That could have been, I don't know. Nobody knows the answers to that. Let's be real. This is Awakening Unfiltered. Let's talk about that. Nobody knows all the answers, right? We do create our reality in a way, but when things like traumatic things happen, did we really create that? Did we really ask for that? Or is that just a really toxic person existing in our world? So don't hold on to that. Don't keep that as part of who you are. See it as something that happened and then let it go. You're allowed to be angry, but don't stay there. Confusion. Not knowing who the heck you are anymore. That's a really good one. And I think that's a very common one because you're in this void of, okay, that's who I was. This is who I want to be, but actually, who am I now? I don't understand who I am. This is new. And that's why I always tell my clients, my tribe, everybody, just go with what you feel is your most authentic self. Go with what feels true. Because even if that's not the correct answer down the road, it might be right now because there might be something that you need to experience in that decision. Oh, let me share a story with you right quick. Years and years ago, this was when, I think 2020 or 2021, I had somebody comment on one of my videos that she was going to end her life, but there was a video of mine that she came across and it helped her to not do that. And the video was me talking about feeling lost in life. I've always told people that if you're feeling lost, good, because that means anything can happen. Opportunities are everywhere. You can go in any direction you want to. You're not lost. You're just in a space of opportunity and you're struggling to figure out which way you're going to go. So that's why I say check in with your authentic self and ask yourself, who am I? Where do I want to go? What do I want to experience right here, right now? And go in that direction and see what happens. It's just life. It's just an experience. None of us get out of this alive. None of us go without some bumps and bruises and broken bones. So just do it. Who cares? Struggle. I've already said this before. Transformation is not comfortable. It can be very uncomfortable. But if you're willing to go through a little bit of discomfort to get into that place of authenticity, oh man, it is so worth it. A little bit of struggle is going to change your life. You are going to have struggles throughout your life, but the more that you evolve, the less time you are stuck in that struggle, the less time it takes you to get over that obstacle because you've learned lessons. You understand it now. You're more in your authenticity. So it doesn't mean that obstacles are not going to come your way. It's kind of like going through a video game. You know, you try this level over and over again and you keep failing and it's frustrating. But each time you do it, you learn something new. You learn a new pattern. You learn a new technique. You learn a new secret passageway. You find out all these different things about that level, and then finally you master it. And then you go to the next one. See what I'm saying? So don't think that you're not going to struggle. Just know the more that you evolve, the more that you step into your authenticity, the less time you're going to be in that struggle. And last but not least, we have joy, expansion, and liberation. But here's the thing, you cannot bypass the uncomfortable stuff to get there. You cannot hack your way to all of a sudden being joy and love and peace and harmony. You have to evolve into that, okay? I will never tell you that I'm in that space because sometimes I am just pissed off. Sometimes my judgmental self comes in because as an entrepreneur, as a teacher, as all of these things, I have people that make that difficult. People are different and we have to see that. And I have to check myself from time to time. I'm just being real. This is unfiltered. I was speaking to another spiritual practitioner just yesterday, and they were venting to me about a situation. And I told them, I completely understand what you're talking about. Again, those are those struggles. Those are those learning times. Those are times where we have to learn patience and understanding and acceptance because everybody is evolving at their own pace, in their own way. It drives me crazy when people try to say that nobody is more evolved than the other. That's not necessarily true. People are evolving more than others. We are all one. We are all human. We all come from the same place. At least that's what we understand. But there are people that are more evolved than others because they take action, because they're going on this journey. I mean, we cannot... That's another thing about that spiritual bypassing or the Delulu stuff. We can't act like everybody is the same. We are not. And it's not an ego trip, because if you're on the ego trip trying to say, I'm above you, I'm better than you, then you have not evolved. But if you understand that you have gone on this journey and you're working towards your evolution and you're humble about it and you turn around and you help other people, then you are evolved. We need more evolved people in order to help us evolve. Otherwise, we would all stay the same. Okay, I want to read this comment from the chat because I think it's a beautiful comment. This is when we were talking about destruction and grief and all of the aspects of the awakening. She says, such an understatement. I lost so much, unbelievably so much. Friends, family, finances, home. It impacted every aspect of my life. The grief, surreal, questioning, what the hell am I doing? Why is this happening? And the anger afterwards, realizing the lie I'd adopted as my life, losing myself and my purpose in the process. It's hard, really hard, but it has been worthwhile now being just me. I absolutely love that because I think a lot of us have gone through that whole scenario in different ways. When I was a kid, I used to ask the universe all the time, why me? Why does nobody like me? Why do people hate me? Why do people use and abuse me? Why? And it was because I needed to be pushed to be in my own independence. I needed to learn boundaries. I needed to go through these experiences because how am I going to lead and teach if I haven't experienced hardship? How am I going to sit with people and understand them and have deep conversations with them if I don't understand what it's like? If you are building a spiritual practice, I tell my students this all the time. If you're building a spiritual practice, you're going to recognize that your clients have gone through very similar experiences to you. Why? Because they recognize your vibration. You've been through similar experiences. You have the same, or I won't say the same, but similar vibrations. So it's very important not to stay stuck in those why me's. Not to stay stuck in your anger, in your bitterness, in your lack, all of that, because you're not going to help anybody if you can't even help yourself out of that. A real transformation is very messy. Like I've said, you don't go in a straight line. Some days you're elevated. Some days you're face down in the dirt. Both are very valid and both are part of that path. The spiritual community needs to stop shaming the messy parts. And this is why we're doing this here, because I want to shed light on what the real awakening is, what the reality of our life is. And it's going to be through different aspects. It's going to be through spiritual tools. It's going to be through relationship understanding, psychological understanding, understanding your relationship with money, understanding your blocks. We're going to talk about real things here, and we're going to evolve together. Here, you have permission to be human. Here, you get to exist. You can be spiritual and angry about something. And if I'm remembering correctly, didn't Jesus flip tables in the Bible? I'm not a Bible person, but didn't he flip tables because he saw injustice? He saw wrongdoing. He was angry. And it's okay. It's okay to be angry about things in life, but it's not okay to stay there. That's the problem. It's not okay to take your anger about yourself out on other people, but it is okay to be angry about things because that is an emotion. That is showing you that a boundary has been crossed. That is showing you where you're afraid. It's showing you a lot of things. So you learn from it and you use it. You can be awakened and struggling financially. I will tell you, one of the things also that drives me crazy is you will see people talking about how they are a manifestation coach. They are this and this and that, and they will teach you how to manifest abundance while they don't have any. That's not real. That's a do what I say, not as I do. That is a let me go ahead and take your money so you can make me abundant, and I'm just going to share these principles with you. I don't like that. That is my own personal opinion. If you disagree, that's okay. But I don't like when people are not walking the walk. You wouldn't go to a doctor who has not gone through medical school and is working on healing people. You wouldn't go to a financial advisor who is broke as hell, right? So why go get a course or private sessions with somebody about manifesting abundance and becoming a millionaire when they have not done so themselves? It's all spiritual bypassing. It is all spiritual fluff. It is all just for views and money. And a lot of them do not look at how you're blocking yourself from your own abundance. A lot of them are just giving you affirmations and maybe some meditations, which are fine, but we need to get to the core reason as to why you don't feel abundant, why you are pushing away your abundance, why you are just not attracting it at all. There's so much more to you than just, I could teach you how to be abundant. So make sure that when you are following somebody or you're taking a course from them or whatever it may be, you are seeing them actually walk the walk. And it takes a while for you to find that because people are crafty. People are shady. There's a lot of scammers out there. And we're going to talk about that too as well in another episode. But as far as being awakened and struggling financially, that is part of the journey. Because most people are made to feel unworthy. And we have these negative patterns and we are so inundated with buy this, buy that. You're not cool if you don't have this. You're not great if you don't have that. It's all BS to make us broke. And as somebody who loves to shop, I will fully admit that. I love to shop. And I know where this stems from. When I was a kid, I always got hand-me-down stuff. And we didn't have a lot of money. My parents were penny pinchers because they had to be. And they still are to this day. And it's funny to me because they're not broke like they were. But that's part of my childhood. I got a lot of hand-me-downs. We didn't have the name brand stuff. And I'm not a name brand person, but I do love to shop because my Venus is in Virgo and I like nice things. So I know that about myself. And I have to limit myself. You can be conscious and still make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Think about that word, mistake. It is a mistake. Think about movies. They say, take one, take two. And you can think about this podcast where I've had to restart my sentences over and over again because I flub. I trip over my tongue all the time. But think about mistake. You tried it once and it was a mistake. Let's do it over and make the right decision this time. I hope that sticks with you. You can teach wisdom and still be learning. Yeah, we're always learning. I'm always learning. I'm always reading. I'm always listening. I'm always doing things to feed my brain because I will never think that I've evolved to a place where I can just be done. We are always evolving and you have to stay up with everything. So if somebody says, again, that they are to this place where they have all the answers or they have evolved so high that they don't need to continue learning, it's BS. Okay, so be aware of those people and stay far, far away. But you can still teach what you do know. Even if you feel like you're just starting out, there are things that you know. There are things that you specialize in. There are things that you have overcome. So why not turn around and help the next person? Oh, I love this comment. If my teacher isn't still learning, I don't want them to teach me. If my doctor isn't still learning, I don't want them treating me. Yes, amen to that. 100%. See, I love my tribe. I love my chat because they have such great insights. And I love that they are so supportive of everybody. And we're all in this together. So again, if you want to be backstage with my tribe, check the show notes and you can find a link there. Let's keep going. So let's talk about what the unfiltered awakening looks like. This is speaking the truth even when it's uncomfortable. I am known on social media for pissing people off because I speak the truth. It makes people very uncomfortable and I get a lot of backlash. But guess what? My clients, my students, my followers, they know that they can trust me because I am willing to stand up against all of the pop tarot, the pop astrology, pop spirituality, all of those things. I'm willing to stand up against that and speak the truth. This is also where you honor all the parts of the journey, the good parts and the not so good parts, because it is not a straight line. It is very messy. You're going to take one step forward and 2 steps back sometimes. That's just part of it. This is not a place where you are performing or pretending to be something that you're not. That is the exact opposite of what you're supposed to be doing in your awakening. You are supposed to be becoming your true authentic self, and you're not going to be able to do that if you're trying to be or make people think you are this other person. That's insanity. And this is where we're going to have real conversation about real transformation. And feel free to leave comments if you want. I know I'm going to get all kinds, but this is where we're going to talk about the reality of life through the spiritual lens. This is real talk about your spiritual growth, your transformation, and what it means to live awake. Again, that is not where you're putting yourself above another. You're just awake and seeing the patterns. You're seeing what's actually going on. You're not taking sides. You're living in this balance. This is a place where all of you is welcome, the light and the shadow. This is where we're going to talk about teaching tools. We're going to talk about tarot, astrology, human design, but not just tools. If you want to learn tarot, then get into my tribe. But we are going to talk about the different tools that we can use in our awakening journey. We're going to have conversations about life and business and relationships and purpose. It's going to be all through that spiritual lens because we are meant to be awake. And to be awake is to be spiritual. It doesn't matter if you're going to be awake through Christianity or your spirituality. It doesn't matter. You do not have to be religious, non-religious. It doesn't matter what your denomination is there or where you're putting yourself. You can listen to all of this and you can participate in all of this. We're all about being good humans. That's what this is about. So you have permission to be messy, to be real, and to still be evolving. This podcast is not another love and light show that bypasses the real work. We're not going to do that. This is not going to be sugar-coated spiritual advice, as you can probably tell. This is not going to be just about tarot, though we're going to talk about tools. And this is not going to be this performative enlightenment. I'm in this journey with you. We are evolving together. We're going to talk about things together. I will always tell you the truth, even when it's not comfortable. I will share from my own messy, real experience. I will honor your intelligence and your depth. And I will never tell you to just think positive when life is hard, because that's dumb advice. We want to think analytically when things are hard. What's going on? Why is it happening? What is it showing me about myself? And how can I work through this? Or who do I need to learn from in order to achieve whatever it is I'm trying to achieve? So if you've made it this far, I appreciate you being on this journey with me, and I hope that you have found some great information in this first podcast. I cannot wait to hear how it evolves. And if you're ready for spiritual content that does not insult your intelligence or bypass your pain, stay with me. If you're tired of filtering yourself and you're ready to show up real, this is your permission slip. If you want transformation, not just inspiration like affirmations, you're in the right place. All right, before we wrap up, here's what I want you to take away from this first episode. Number one, Your spiritual awakening is supposed to be messy. If someone is showing you a perfectly curated journey, they're selling you a fantasy and not reality. Number 2, you don't have to stay in the box other people put you in. I refuse to be just the tarot gal, and you don't have to be whatever limited version of yourself people expect you to be. And number 3, real awakening requires real work. No hacks, no bypassing, no pretending everything is love and light when you're literally falling apart. Now, if you want to be part of a community that actually gets this, where we talk about the real stuff, where you get access to teachings that have actual foundations, not just woo-woo vibes, check out the tribe. The link is in the show notes. Inside the tribe, you get backstage access to these podcast recordings before anybody else. You get to be part of the conversation like the amazing women who were here with me today. And you get the full library of everything that I teach. On the next episode, we're talking about spiritual entitlement and why the expectation that spiritual workers should work for free is literally killing the industry. If you have ever been told that you shouldn't charge for your abilities or your gifts, or you feel guilty about having a paid offer, you need to hear this one. Until then, stay unfiltered, stay authentic, and remember, evolution is messy, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. I'm Erica Cook, and this is Awakening Unfiltered.